What up guys, it is Justice here and welcome back to Runescape. So, God Wars Dungeon 2 is being released next Tuesday, and with that come brand new rewards. These rewards are more specifically tier 80 and tier 85 power armor and also a hybrid armor set. So this new armor is pretty interesting. It's just whenever something new comes out, I want to check it out. I want to see what the stats are like. I want to see how it compares and matches up against existing armors or rewards in the game. Now, there are going to be tier 85 weapons being released as well, and these tier 85 weapons are going to have the damage output of tier 80 weapons, but then accuracy of a tier 90 weapon. Now, very strange concept there, but these may be good entry-level bossing weapons because at high-level bosses, you do need accuracy. So that 90 accuracy stat will influence that battle very positively for those players who can't yet afford tier 90 weapons or don't yet have, let's say, tier 90 attack to be able to actually wield the Drygores. So yeah, it's a bit of an odd one. I don't know whether they're going to have some passive effects that we don't know about yet. Now, I don't know whether these weapons will have a huge impact on the game. They definitely will help people who can't yet afford tier 90s for high level bossing. And then there's the question of how they're going to fare up against the tier 85 weapons dropped by high level Slayer mobs that didn't have any real major impact on the game. So I feel like it may be the same with these weapons. However, the armor is a different thing altogether, and that's what this whole video is going to be focused on. So essentially, there's tier 80 armor that's going to be dropped. Now, the way the armor is going to be dropped, it's not going to be just like a chest plate like at the God Wars Dungeon 1 where you go and kill, let's say, Grador and you get like a Bandos chest plate. It's not going to be implemented in that way, and that's kind of predictable as well in the aspect of over the past year or so or 2 years with the different boss releases. Lots of different armor drops have been in stages and have not been like a one-off RNG drop. They've been components to make up a drop, such as Malevolent energies to make up Malevolent armor, Tectonic energies to make up Tectonic armor. So following a similar approach with God Wars Dungeon 2, but this time I have heard they will be dropping armor components. So let's say you kill Gregorgovich, he will drop components, let's say, I think for the hybrid armor, but each boss will drop components for, let's say, melee version, a range version, and a magic version, and then a hybrid version. So 4 boss fights, so each one will drop one of those specified armor classes. That's what I'm predicting. And then with that, you will have to gain faction and reputation and things, and also try and get crests and get crest drops. And those crests will determine what armor you make as well. There's loads of different variances here, but in general, the armor that's going to be dropped, which you can obtain as a reward, will be tier 80, and this tier 80 armor will be non-degradable. Now, that means this will be probably the very best slaying armor in the game. So any slayers out there who, like non-degradable armor, this is going to be for you. This tier 80 armor will be perfect for slaying. It really will make a good positive impact on the game in that aspect. And also, there may be a lot of players out there who really just don't like having degradable armor because they feel like the cost is too much for them economically, whilst playing the game. They feel like that cost is just too much, and this new tier 80 power armor, they might want to use it for bossing as well, just because they don't want to spend any money on degrading armor. They don't want to spend any money on repairing their armor. So that might be an option for you. But I reckon from my personal playstyle and from what I can gather from the community, a lot of people don't mind now spending money on repair costs. It's kind of just part of the game. Now, that's why I'm going to go into the negativities about this armor, and a lot of people are panic selling their next armor right now, thinking, oh my god, this new God Wars Dungeon 2 armor is coming out, it's going to be better. Well, let's just actually refrain from panic selling things right now, and let's just have a look carefully and analyze it against the next armor here before anyone makes some rash decisions, because the tier 80 armor that's going to be released will have the same power stats as next armor. However, it's going to have lower life point bonuses. I'll get onto the hybrid later on, but in terms of just the power armor, the melee, mage, and range version, like I said, they'll have the same power stats as next armor, but lower life point bonus, which makes next armor very unique in that way, because if you look at tier 90 armor as well, even tier 90 armor doesn't have a life point boost, so it really makes next armor stand out, and it's keeping it competitive against the God Wars Dungeon armor. Now, I'm not going to talk about upgrading the God Wars Dungeon 2 armor to tier 85 because I won't be doing that. Why? Because if you augment your gear right now, augmentable gear is the best DPS gear in the game. So next gear, tier 80, when you augment it, which I've done with my Virtus and Torva so far, that is more DPS than the tier 90 equivalent. So because you can't augment tier 90 yet. It will be the same case with the tier 85. You will not be able to augment, the tier 85 God Wars Dungeon 2 armor. No, you will not be able to do that because the tier 85 armor, you will upgrade that with new components, and then once that degrades, it will go back to tier 80 armor, so you can't augment it at the moment anyway. And I'm pretty certain Giants have no plans at the moment. They do have plans, but it's at the very bottom of their priority list in terms of augmenting tier 90 gear because let's just be honest, there's a lot of balancing they need to do with perks, because if you could then perk up tier 90 armor, that would be absolutely crazy. So there's a lot of balancing they need to do, and to be honest, I do kind of like how they're revitalizing the Nex armor in some ways. It's just a shame that the Nex armor is still going to be better, guys, than the tier 80 God Wars Dungeon 2 armor. Why? Because it has higher life point bonus. And I've just thought of another really important reason. There's a lot of people might be thinking, well, isn't the tier 80 non-degradable? Well, no. If you augment it, it becomes degradable in terms of the drain rate, and then you need to repair it with divine charges, and those repair costs would be the same cost as augmentable Nex gear because they are both tier 80. And that's probably one of the biggest things that got me. I was like, oh yeah, it's going to be really good armor, but no, if you augment it, then it's just going to drain at the same rate as augmentable Nex armor and therefore cost the same. And also, the God Wars Dungeon 2 armor is going to cost an absolute bomb on release because there's just none in game compared to the Nex armor, which has been farmed for years now. Now, yes, you might be one of those people who just don't want to augment their gear because there's a legitimate reason not to. It costs a bomb right now. And that is another thing Giants really need to look at and try and balance. They either need to reduce the drain rate of your armor in terms of like just when you've got 3 augmentable armor pieces equipped, or they need to reduce the cost of divine charges. Either one, they need to balance it out some way to make it more sustainable and a more accessible option for more PVMers in the game. So if you are one who doesn't want to augment up their armor, then you might consider going for the tier 80 power armor and upgrade it to tier 85, but then that's only 5 levels below tier 90, and I'm pretty certain there's not going to be any passive effects on the normal power armor of God Wars Dungeon 2, and therefore you're probably best off just using the tier 90 gear still. And then when tier 90 and tier 85 gear does become augmentable, then you're just going to augment your tier 90s, depending on the difference in the drain rate of charges compared to tier 90 and 85. Whenever that gets balanced out. So, the God Wars Dungeon 2 armor, tier 80, is not going to be as good as Nex armor. From the knowledge we know so far, they could change things. So, the hybrid armor, however, that might be really interesting. The hybrid armor that's going to be released, you're going to be able to add existing War Priest armors from God Wars Dungeon 1 and the Tusker World event. You're going to be able to add the different War Priest armors to the new God Wars Dungeon 2 hybrid armor, which you can upgrade to tier 85. And there's rumors that this new hybrid armor, and it was rumored by Kyle, aka Giants Raymond, on the dev Q&A, that he kind of hinted that some people may prefer this hybrid armor, the new God Wars Dungeon 2, over existing void armor. So this may be something that's going to make void armor obsolete, and to be honest, it's about time, because Voidscape in terms of pure DPS gear, let's say Virago, has been in the game for a long time. That has now become obsolete with Nex augmentable gear, but this hybrid gear might be a good alternative option to use than Void, and at a cheaper cost than using augmentable gear. So that's one thing I'm excited for the most. I'm excited for the hybrid gear the most, and of course, again, the tier 80 gear will be fantastic for slaying. Apologies, by the way, for reiterating the word hybrid. Every single time I've said that in this video, I meant Trybrid. Sorry, it was just something I was saying. So thank you very much for listening. Make sure to comment down your thoughts on this update in the comment section, and make sure to give this video a like as well if you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one.
It's running.